Hi, I'm Bybreen and welcome back to another episode of Soul Stirring Astrology, where I give you my textured take on the world of astrology. In a couple of days, there's a full moon that takes place in Virgo, and that's on the 2nd of March, and it's at 11 degrees of Virgo. It falls in the 7th house, which means it's opposing the Sun, and the Sun forms part of a stellium in the 1st house. So we have the Sun conjuncting Neptune, and then we have Venus conjuncting Mercury. So we've got a packed 1st house opposing this 7th house moon in Virgo. And they are both forming a square to Mars. So there's a sort of loose T-square, because we have the moon at 11 degrees forming a square to Mars at 21 degrees in Sagittarius. And then we've got a tight Mars, which is squaring the stellium in Pisces. So it's squaring particularly Venus and Mercury. So just imagine we've got a number, if not all of, the personal planets involved in this, or I should say 4 out of the 5 personal planets involved. So with this full moon in Virgo, now let's look at Virgo, because Virgo is it's in the 7th house, so we're looking at the air of relationships, and it's about bringing the spotlight, and the spotlight is about critiquing, being critical, looking at the detail of relationships, because that's what Virgo does. Virgo here, ruled by Mercury, is the very analytical part of who you are. And so with the moon there, we've got this critical faculty blending with emotions. And so here you have the perfectionist, wanting things to be really perfect in the arena of relationships. And the full moon is really about the completion of a cycle. So it's an opportunity for you to examine what you have let go in terms of the realm of perfection, or are you still caught up in the nuances and the details of everyday life? And this is where you're getting caught, trapped, limiting yourself, because the emotions want to be expressed freely, and we've got the emotions in Earth, so that there's a groundedness to them, but there's this critical faculty, which means that you never take your foot off the accelerator. There's this forever internal examination where you begin to attack yourself. And the reason being is because you lack self-esteem. There's a sense that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough. And this is the inner critic. This is the battle that's going on internally. Now, with the spread of the planets during this full moon, there's no air, which means there's this heavier reliance on emotions, instincts, feelings, nuances, and you're trying to make sense of it all as you move through this full moon journey. But the journey really is for you to learn humility. It's about how do you begin to take the foot off the accelerator. So therefore, you're not always bringing this heavy prism of analysis on yourself. So what you're trying to do here is become the subject and the object at the same time. So taking a subjective approach to your life, but being objective enough that you're giving your life the ability to breathe into your relationships, breathe into your relationship with yourself. Honour yourself. The journey is towards self-esteem, self-respect, being able to actually just be and honestly say to yourself, I'm good enough. I've let go of the expectations of woulda, coulda, shoulda, gonna. Because you then continually place this heavy pressure on who you think you ought to be, and or you're trying to live up to other people's expectations of who they think you should be. And what you may find is that in doing so, you are sacrificing the true essence of who you are. And that might show up in, you honestly admit to yourself that you're in a relationship where you are ill-matched. We've all come across couples, whether they're married couples or, in relationship, non-married couples, but there's a disconnect, there's an ill match. They may have come together for one thing, but actually in terms of souls and personalities, there's a disconnect and there's a disharmony. And so during this full moon, given it's in the 7th house, you may be looking at the quality and the tone of your relationships in a way that you're bringing honesty to it, so you're no longer playing second fiddle. And the more you play second fiddle means that you are self-sacrificing you and your happiness. We're dealing with emotions, so it's really important. Now, it's opposing, as I said, this stellium that's going on in Pisces in the first house. So you've got the Sun conjunct Neptune. So there's this sense of wanting to diffuse your core identity and blend in the universal feelings that are floating around in your environment, in the zeitgeist. So you're ameliorating the harshness of the square that's coming from Mars, which is in the 10th house of Sagittarius. Then you've got another conjunction, you've got Venus and you have Mercury, and so this is where, and don't forget that Venus is exalted in Pisces and Neptune rules Pisces, so there's very much this ethereal, loving, spiritual, transcending quality. It's where, you know, you might be sharing the poetry of your soul within your environment. So you've got this very soft, flowing, gentle, compassionate, loving identity that's trying to emerge, opposing this very critical moon in the 7th house. It's in Virgo, and what you're trying to do is to balance these two energies. They are oppositions, they are polarities, so they both need each other. So with regards to the full moon in Virgo, what you're wanting is to bring the element of ease and mutability that Pisces gives, with all the planets in Pisces. And then, as I said, they're forming this T-square with Mars, and Mars is stirring things up. Mars will stir up the emotions. It's in fire. It's, you know, it's at home in fire because it rules Aries. And so you've got a Venus opposing or squaring Mars, I should say, with the conjunction with Mercury. You know, there could be angry voices, angry words exchanged that's disrupting the beauty and the environment and the tranquility that's being promised by Pisces. So that's what you're trying to balance. You're balancing taking a foot off the accelerator and learning to be more loving with yourself. So it's the journey of self-love. At the same time, you're then honouring this energy that's going on in Pisces, wanting this sense of diffusion, but at the same time honouring who you are and ameliorating the Martian energy that's attempting to control both the 1st and the 7th house. So that's it, beautiful people. It brings me to the quote of the day, which is by Quindlen. And what she said is this: the most difficult and most amazing thing is to give up this ideal of perfection so you can start the journey to becoming who you're truly meant to be. Which brings me to the question of the day. What is it that you're sacrificing about your personality or your life because of your insistence on perfectionism? So, as always, comments, questions, answers, queries, saying hi to me in the comment box below. I love to jam with you all. Thank you everybody who supports me on my journey as I bring astrology to the masses, demystify it, and primarily help you create a powerful narrative to steer your life towards living one that's authentic and soulful. Feel free to share this with anybody in your network, and also if you'd like a personal reading where I can really bring my eyes of astrology into your personal domain by looking at your birth chart or taking the solar return and looking at romance or career or any other area in your life, drop me an email at bybreensamuels@googlemail.com so we can kickstart a conversation around what you need. Until then, beautiful people, ponder this sense of the moon in Virgo and what that means for you and how that's showing up for you in your relationships and how you can actually live with more humility. So until then, I will see you again on the next episode. Bye.